Every single year I go to Gen Con, and one of the things I like to do is search that merchandise hall for a game I've never heard of, one that nobody's talking about. Basically, I'm looking for a hidden gem. And this year, 2016, I found it in Darkness Comes Rattling by Kevin Wilson. I never saw it before. I was like, okay, this theme, a giant snake has eaten the sun, and it is going down its throat towards its belly. And you as a barbarian have to gear up and jump in its mouth and run down its neck, catch that sun, and rescue it. That's weird. And I had to have it. So I bought it and played it, and here is my review of Darkness Comes Rattling.
In Darkness Comes Rattling, the players take the roles of barbaric tribesmen who, along with their companions, are crusading across the world to collect the lost spirit weapons in an attempt to rescue the sun from the belly of the giant snake, Darkness. You win by gearing up your tribesmen, entering the snake's mouth, running down its throat, catching up to the sun, and defeating one final challenge to rescue the sun from being digested. You'll lose the game if that player dies in Darkness, if all 4 winds leave the world, or if the sun reaches Darkness's rattle. You have a number of action points to spend on your turn to move, scout challenge cards, purify corruption, or trade items. Most often, challenge cards will initially be face down, and scouting them will allow you to flip them over to see how difficult they are to accomplish, what skills will grant you rerolls, and which items will grant you bonuses when you attempt them during the challenge phase. Throughout the game, corruption tokens will build up on challenge spaces. Purifying them will remove them from the board. During the challenge phase, your character will have to face whichever challenge he is standing on. To resolve a challenge, roll the 3 challenge dice and the dark die. If the sum of the 3 dice plus the bonuses from your items exceeds the difficulty number, you succeed at the challenge. If there are any corruption tokens on the space, each die of the same color and number as the corruption token will count as 0. Whether you succeed or fail, read the corresponding section of the card and resolve the effects. Then you must resolve the dark die. Most often it would move the sun on the darkness track or require you to add corruption to the board. If a space ever reaches its 3rd corruption token, you'll need to add a shadow challenge card to the space. Shadow challenges are more difficult challenges and will also attract more corruption. Whenever a shadow card is added to the board, you must anger the winds by moving its token down 1 space. The winds have a beneficial effect when they're pleased, but a negative effect when they're angry. If the token ever falls below -1, you've enraged the wind, and he will abandon the world. When the 4th wind leaves the game, you lose. When the sun token enters a rumor spot on the darkness track, if a player has one of the lost spirit weapons, he may choose to enter darkness. While in darkness, he must spend his actions to move down the track, resolving darkness challenges. If the player reaches the sun token, he must face one final challenge. If he is successful, the sun will be rescued and you and your companions will win. Darkness Comes Rattling. But beware, if the sun reaches the end of the line, darkness will rattle, and the sun will be lost forever, and all will be doomed.
Which will probably happen to you more often than you would like. This game is really hard, but I'll get to that. Let's start with the theme. The theme is wacky, it's weird, it's different. No one's ever seen anything quite like this in a board game. I like it because I really thought of Greek and Roman mythology, Native American mythology, Egyptian mythology, and the ways that these ancient civilizations would explain why there was a solar eclipse, for example. Like, I almost like to think that this game is not really happening. It's just somebody retelling a story, a religious story about why there was a solar eclipse or something like that. I think it's great. I think this theme is awesome, and I've got nothing like it in my collection, so I'm happy to have it. I'll tell you what I think that the most of the story and most of the theme comes out through the event cards. And I didn't really even mention it in the overview, but a lot of times it'll say draw and resolve an event card. And the stories that happen on those cards is very vivid. Like, it really puts some imagery in your mind of what's happened. And when I play, and then afterwards, I'm always remembering, oh, that one time that scorpion like latched onto my heart and was stinging me every time we rolled a shadow on the dark die. And I had to die to get rid of it. It's so neat how the story plays out in this game. I like it a lot. As far as the components go, everything is bright and colorful and beautiful, and the artwork is stellar and great. I have to say that there are some problems with some of the components. Like cardboard standees, I can deal with cardboard standees, but the bases that they give you to put on them don't exactly fit very well. So it kind of chewed up the cardboard standee right at the bottom, and I don't like that. You know, it's such an easy thing for them to notice when they got their production copy. Oh, this is a problem. We're going to have to change the way this works. But they didn't. It's okay. I like the game enough that I think I'm going to try to find miniatures to replace the cardboard standees. So I dig it enough to do that. So I'm okay with that. So let's talk about the gameplay here. At first blush, you would think, oh, this is just an Ameritrash game. You're rolling dice. You're reading a little bit of story and going forward. Yes, it does have that. I like that a lot. But there's more to it here in the game than just that. But let's talk about that. So you go into a challenge space. Usually the challenge cards are face down. You can scout them to look at them. You can see what skills you need to efficiently complete them. You see what equipment you might need to make it easier to complete them. So once you have a bunch of those scouted, you can talk amongst your companions and say, okay, you need to go over there and deal with that because you got the rope and you got the spear. That'll make it easier for you to do that one. Oh, this one over here works with my skill. And I have some items that work over here. So there's a lot of coordination that goes on in the game. You want to move around and get to the challenges that you can more efficiently complete. And then it's fun to do it too, because you got the dice rolling as well, but it can be mitigated by all those things, the skills and the equipment. But then there's the other side of this coin. There is the second part of the game. The second part of the game is the corruption and how the corruption builds up on these different spaces. And this is like a completely different game here. This is like Pandemic, where there are things building up on spaces, and if they reach a threshold of 3, they pop. You know, we always use that term, pop. And a shadow card gets placed down. The shadow card angers the winds. If the winds are angered too much, they leave the game. If too many of them leave the game, you lose the game. So there's that whole Pandemic thing going on in this too. And what I think is really neat about that and the challenge cards, the Ameritrash dice rolling part, is that they tie them together so perfectly well, right? You got the challenge cards, and then there's corruption on them. The corruption is going to make the challenge cards more hard to do. So you want to clear it. You also want to clear it because you could lose the game by having too many of them, and it could make the game even harder by adding those shadow cards. It's a really neat balance of two different styles of game that tie together really well in this sort of weave. And I dig that. I dig that a lot. Now, the ultimate goal of the game is to find the spirit weapons. And so that you can enter darkness. You could jump down the snake's mouth and run down his neck and find the sun. It's not hard to find the spirit weapons. It's not like that's much of the game. You're just doing those challenge cards and playing that portion of the game, and you'll get them through rewards. You hope you get them quicker, but by the time that you are able to go into the snake, everybody's got one, usually, or at least half the group's got them. So really what the game is you trying to figure out who is the best choice to enter the snake. You can get all these different items. You can actually trade items between each other. You can build one person up to be that hero that's going to go in. All right, when it happens, you're going to go in. And so it's kind of like a coordination of that too. Who's going to be the guy that's going to go in the snake? So when you get to that point, it's not that fun when you're in there. If you're the guy that goes in the snake, really you're taking your 4 actions to move 4 spaces on the track. Then you get to do a challenge card. Everybody else is still outside trying to defeat challenges, because if you defeat a challenge, he can move one further on the track. So you're trying to help him move down there. So it's still fun for everybody else, but that one guy that's in there, it's not as fun anymore. But you're close to the end of the game, so I can forgive that. All in all, I like this game a lot. I think it does some very interesting things. I think it's beautiful. It's not just a mindless game. There's a lot of coordination. There's a lot of strategic thinking and tactical thinking about what you need to do with your time. And it does have that 2 different layers. It's kind of neat how you're managing Pandemic kind of stuff, and you're also managing stories and challenge cards. And then it goes to that 3rd level where you got to get in the snake and run down the snake. There's a lot of cool stuff to like about this game. I think this is a hidden gem. I don't see anybody talking about this game, and I think more people should be checking it out. Darkness Come Rattling, it's a good game. It's very good. I like it. Check it out. Alright, so there is my review of Darkness Comes Rattling. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to check out more about board games, card games, miniatures games, role-playing games, check out thesecretcabal.com for our audio podcast. You can also get us on iTunes. And if you would, be kind enough to subscribe to the Secret Cabal's YouTube channel. Alright, till next time, see you later.